Hello everybody, welcome to the episode of Unveiling the Truth for December 21st, 2013. We're getting close to the year 2014. Another new year is upon us, and another year to spread information about awareness and some of the most important issues that are facing humanity today. I'm your host, Mark Howitt, and this is actually a special episode of Unveiling the Truth. Due to time differences, the guest today could not be on the show on the 21st, on the solstice. However, this show is being recorded on the 20th, the day before, and it will be broadcast on the 21st on Unveiling the Truth. So anybody who wants to check this out, the episode will probably be available a day early because of that. The reason for this is because of the time differences for the guest. He's actually living in Spain right now, and I really am looking forward to today's interview. It's with a very great guest speaker. His name is Ole Dammegard. He is from Spain, as I said, and he's a prize-winning author of the book Coup in slow motion. And I haven't actually had a chance to read the book yet, but I've definitely looked into the information that the book is on, and I've seen some of his interviews before. And this gentleman is definitely a scholar in what the book is about, and I'm really looking forward into diving right into that and getting a lot of information on that. Actually, I was researching what really got me into doing these kind of things and researching and looking into this stuff and actually making documentaries in the first place. Was the JFK assassination as well as Robert Kennedy's assassination. In fact, the second documentary series I made was called Evidence of Murder, which is on YouTube. It was 5 documentaries essentially in one. It's an 8-hour one. And I examined some of the assassinations throughout history, including Abraham Lincoln, William Cooper, JFK, RFK, and Malcolm X. And later I split those up individually and put them online as well. And when I was doing that research, actually, I did come across a lot of the same information that Ole came across and wrote about in his book. But he has definitely dug really deep into this rabbit hole. I mean, in comparison, I only scratched the surface compared to the research that Ole has done on this subject of assassinations and the connections between them. Which is why I'm really looking forward to having Ole as a guest here. And the reason for that is because I want to learn from him just to connect a lot of the dots that I wasn't able to connect. At the time, I was digging really hard to find information and put as much information in those documentaries as I possibly could. However, it is hard to come across, and I really commend Ole for his research efforts and putting this together for people to see. And I want to show you guys his website, actually, because it's very important to point this out. I'm going to get his website on screen here for you guys. And his website, for anybody who wants to check it out, is lightonconspiracies.com. So anybody who's wanting to check out more of his work, definitely check this out. You can buy the book here, Coup d'etat in slow motion. Definitely a highly recommended book, in my opinion. Definitely uncovers a lot of conspiracies that are all connected, and as we'll find out very shortly on the broadcast today. As well, you could donate to his efforts. I'm sure he's not doing this to make money or anything, but he definitely does do it for the love of what he's doing and to spread this information out there. He actually hasn't had any publishers yet for the book, but they are looking, as it says here on the website. People in the publishing business have been interested in Germany, England, Denmark, Holland, USA, Spain, France, and in Ireland, but none has had the courage to be the first one to publish it. So any book publishers out there, definitely look into this guy's work, because this is the work of the future. I mean, anybody who has seen the movie Oliver Stone's JFK, that movie had nothing compared to what this book has. So anybody who's into the JFK assassination or RFK or any of these modern history assassinations, definitely recommended to check out Ole Dammegard's site. And he's also been involved with arts and music. We're going to find out a little bit more about that as well as a bit of work on on film as well. And there's a really great article which is also on the Unveiling the Truth website for this interview. that anybody can check out just by clicking the link, because you might not memorize this URL here. However, this is a really great article by Jim Fetzer. Well, he submitted this article. He actually got Ole to write this article for him. You can also find two interviews with Jim Fetzer and Ole here from August. But this is an article that Ole submitted to veteranstoday.com through Jim Fetzer, and this is definitely in-depth article here, which names a lot of people that are connected, and a lot of these people I was able to point the finger to as well through my research, such as David Atlee Phillips, David Morales, Charles Nicoletti, James Fowles, Frank Sturgis, Tosh Palmley. There's a lot of people that I was able to connect, but I'm telling you, this is a big rabbit hole. I mean, look at all these faces here. He's naming people. He's pointing the finger at all these connections, and he's actually, these are legitimate connections. I mean, I can verify it based on the research that I've done. Definitely, he has done his homework, which is why it's really exciting to have him on the show today. So anybody who wants to send him a donation to keep him going, or any publishers out there who are wanting to publish a book, definitely get in touch with Ole. He's definitely done his homework on this, and this, in my opinion, is a behemoth of a conspiracy. Definitely one of the biggest conspiracies of our time, easily. There's other conspiracies that obviously we've uncovered on the show that are pretty large, but he's made a lot of connections, and we're going to find out a lot more very shortly. I'm going to get him on right now, actually. So, without further ado, I'm going to give Ole a call, and we'll have him on the show. Hello.
Good morning, Mark. Hi there.
Hi, good morning, Ole. How's it going today?
It's going great, thank you. Listen, Mark, I really appreciate you being up in the middle of the night. Normally, I'm the one doing it. So
Oh, no problem.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, not a problem. It's well worth it, in my opinion. You've definitely done your homework on these subjects, and I definitely I'm honored to have you on the show. I was just explaining during the intro, that I did a lot of research in these same subjects, and I did cross-reference a lot of the same names as you have. But I'm telling you, you've definitely done your homework on this, my friend, and you've connected so many dots that I tried to do, and it was when I was doing the research, I understand how hard it was to find information about this sort of stuff, because it is kept so secret from the public, and you have definitely uncovered something very that the world needs to hear about. So I was telling people they need to get your book, they need to read what you've uncovered here. So it's really an honor to have you on the show today.
The honor is mine, Mark. Listen, do you know the definition of the word paranoid? The real definition.
No, I can't
It's
say I do.
Most people think that, at least this is the way it's been explained to me, and this is by a former MI6 agent, that the word paranoid doesn't, it's not that people are sick in the head and think that they're being chased or tracked down or something like that. Paranoid means somebody with a skill to connect dots and events that no one else can see is connected. So, in
Yeah,
that case, I would be proud to call myself paranoid because I think
yeah,
this is what I've been able to do without really knowing that I was more or less the only one that was doing these connections. It's only because I've been looking into so many of these different hits and assassinations and so-called terror acts that I've been able to spot that they're actually connected.
yeah. Um, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started putting these pieces of the puzzle together?
Yeah, for sure. My body was born in Denmark a long time ago, and I grew up in Sweden. Then I used to be a rock musician and a journalist, and also I grew up in a Danish family that used to be very involved in the resistance movement when during the German occupation. So my granddad was in jail for helping Jews, and my grandmother's sister was helping to smuggle weapons in baby cots, and you know, my dad was in the resistance movement and fighting the Germans and so on. So I think I grew up with all these stories about the occupation, and also how important it is to stand up for the truth, even though it can look shit scary.
Yeah.
And that even though you're alone, you just have to do the right thing, because the in this life, this illusion of life, you will experience that you are on your own, but we're all in it together.
Hmm.
And we're being given different roles, and my role has been sort of like a pathfinder, finding out about the dark, to be able to expose it with light, so that for all of us to be more aware of what's going on, so that we can free ourselves from it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. The information that you've uncovered, I mean, it's essentially gone unchecked. I mean, there's no accountability. A lot of the people's aliases or their connections to what you've uncovered have only been released after their death, so they can't be held accountable for it. Some of them, anyway. Some of them are still alive, but a lot of the players are dead since this has happened. And
But
you say you
no,
were living
this
in Sweden. That's where you said you started coming onto this information, I guess.
Yeah, it was for me. It started in the I think it was the early 1980s, when it was the first time I saw the Zapruder film. And for people who know about the JFK assassination, the Zapruder film, it was a bystander who was filming the whole event when JFK was shot. And in that film, it reveals so much about what actually happened. And when I saw that John F. Kennedy the final shot came from the front right, hitting him in the right temple and throwing his head back to the left. I mean,
Hmm.
his whole head exploded. Then, I mean, with Farmer Brown logic, a bullet coming from that direction means that the shooter must be to the front and to the right
Yeah.
of the motorcade, and not what we were being told. The lone crazy nut guy was sitting up on the sixth book floor in the school book depository, shooting from the back. And if he had done the shot, which he couldn't, through a big tree, the branches
Yeah.
of a big tree and the angle, the president's head would be thrown forward and downwards.
Hmm.
But this showed the absolute opposite.
Absolutely.
And at that point, I just felt, oh my God, what is going on here? There's something so wrong
Yeah, it's
with
common.
the story that
Yeah, it's basic
it's
physics. Really
it's
is.
basics. And this is what I based everything on. It's like Farmer Brown logic, you know, one
Yeah.
plus one equals two. It doesn't matter if you some super fancy professor telling me that one plus one equals 34. I just know it is not true. And if somebody tries to push that down your throat, you will know that they're trying to cover something up.
Hmm.
So it's very easy. The truth is very easy to, you don't even need to remember anything if you're involved with truth. But if you're involved in conspiracies and lies, they have a hell of a job to keep track of who said what, and how can we try and cover this up with more lies. And then the bigger the conspiracy is, the more people are involved, and then people start talking, or they get afraid, then they have to be killed. Witnesses have seen what actually happened, so then they have to be killed. Then people get sick or scared, so they think, oh, I'm on my deathbed, so then they start talking, so then you have to kill them as well. And it gets really messy, but at the same time, for someone like me, that makes it a lot more easier, because then you can start tracking down to where the actual truth is, the core of what happened, because there is a truth. When it comes to these assassinations or terror acts, there is a reason for why they were done. There is somebody actually did it. The reason, there was a definite reason, like I said, and somebody is covering it up. So it's a matter of once again, back to Farmer Brown logic. Start going back to the crime scene and start to find the real proof, not what you're being fed, but find out what happened, what is the proof telling you, and then slowly you will start uncovering it.
Hmm.
And for me, it's been like a 30-year tripped down this quite scary road, because it is very scary that when you get into this, if you start digging deep enough, you will see that a lot of people that do the same will stop living. You know, they will be found in bathtubs, fully dressed, drowned, or they will shoot themselves in the back of the head with a shotgun, or they will
Yeah,
stab themselves 15 times.
yeah,
They're very liable to get cancer that will come very quickly, and you will die
yeah.
very fast.
Just like what
Or
happened to Jack Ruby, the
you
cancer, all that stuff.
I mean, I got hundreds of examples, you know, and
Hmm.
so it's not very healthy for you. So that's why, uh, and in a very early stage, I I came to a point where I thought, if I'm gonna survive this, if I'm serious about trying to find out, then either I have to get the main spotlight on me, so that if something happens to me, that will just confirm what I've been saying. Meaning that because they're very afraid of creating martyrs, because
Hmm.
that is one of the major problems. If they kill someone and this person becomes a martyr, then that can start a movement that is a lot bigger than the person they actually killed. So they're very afraid of that. Or the second option was to go under the radar, be totally discreet, be very. And since I was Mr. Nobody at that time, I just felt that's the way to go. So I kept a very low profile.
Hmm.
Uh,
For 30
and
years, yeah. You say you've done research into this for nearly 30 years now.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy. It
yeah.
really
That's
is. But no, when I started, I had absolutely no idea that how long it would take, and so on. But
hmm
what I started with, I really became almost obsessed trying to find out what happened to JFK, because it's such a multi-layered conspiracy. I mean, it's incredibly complex, and it's like a labyrinth inside an enigma, inside a safe box, inside, you know, that they thrown in the sea and it sunk to the bottom of the sea, and then a whale swallowed it. You know, like when you start fight, it's like
yeah.
impossible. It's pointing in all different directions, and so many different it's just made to be totally confusing.
And they've
And
sealed the documents till 2017, but I think they've extended it even after that. I believe.
yeah, but what documents? I mean,
Yeah.
they're the ones writing it, and I mean, you won't find the real truth in documents. If that's the
hmm
way think you're going to find the truth, you're in for a long run, because they manipulate the documents.
Yeah.
They don't write the real truth. They put out documents that are totally fake, pointing in all different directions again. And
hmm
then if there's something
It's all
real,
blacked out.
that's it
Most of
blacked
them.
out,
Yeah.
and then they say it will become public in 30 years. They always do it so that they for sure are going to be dead themselves by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So
And
and
another thing I've noticed too is a lot of these CIA members or intelligence operatives, they have dual names, so it's harder to track them down too. They go by different aliases and they have different identifications, ID cards that identify them as other people. That's one way they operate under the radar as well, which is how they can get away with it for so long, I think, as well as their.
it's it's not two identities. They've got multiple, like
Mhm.
multiple. We're talking like 10, 15. If
Oh
you
yeah,
if you if you talk to like take a guy like Chauncey Holt, a CIA operative who was also very active in the mob and so on. He was the guy, the three tramps
yeah.
in Dealey Plaza, if people know about that. He's the guy, the old guy, the so-called the old tramp. And he
hmm
was the guy who supplied the whole team with false identification. Or it wasn't actually false, it was they did it at the same workshop where they did the real Secret Service identification thing. So they were real
Yeah, authentic.
badges. They were authentic, but they were in fake names.
hmm
Anyway, but I lost the thread. What were we talking about?
Yeah, so from my understanding, just by looking into a little bit about how you research this stuff and all that, I understand that it was Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, his
Yes.
assassination that kind of got you really connecting a lot of dots where you were and stuff. How does that connect with JFK and all the other assassinations?
No, that is not completely true though, because it was like when I studied the JFK assassination, the more I read like I think a couple of hundred books in the air, and what I found out, after a very confused phase was that many of these people actually worked for not only the CIA, but at the same time they were also active for the mob, and they were also many times funded by the FBI and connected to other, so it's like the same person could be he could be working for the CIA, being funded by the FBI, and doing jobs for the mob. So it's very,
Hmm.
very intricate, and it's like the same, you know, different sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
So also after looking into the JFK assassination, the more I started writing a book for my own sake, just to try and keep track of what did who, who
Yeah.
did what and when and how, and it really, really complex. And then I got more and more interested in the Martin Luther King assassination, Robert Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, and so on. And after a while, it was almost like I started to see that there was like a pattern, a clear pattern, not on how they were actually killed, or there are very big similarities there as well, but also like a template, how they commit these assassinations and how they get away with it, how they dupe the public into thinking that it was the work of a lone crazy guy. It's
Hmm.
always a lone crazy guy, and the
With three
reason for that
names.
is
I noticed
the
with the
reason
three
for
names too, like
the
Lee
the reason
Harvey Oswald and stuff like that. Have you noticed a pattern with that?
not really, but what I noticed very clearly was that this lone crazy guy, the reason why it's alone, not most of the time, is because if he's alone, there's no need to look into it, because if there's more than one person planning it, by law the definition will be a conspiracy. So they try to avoid that. They totally divide. So it's one person, and why he's crazy is because if he was crazy, he just went up, he shot the guy, and for no reason. He was crazy and he was alone. So there's no need to look into this. Let's just forget it all. Let's bury the guy. Very often these patsies, they die, or they're stuffed away somewhere forever and ever.
Hmm.
And then case closed, and please, let's move on, folks. Let's not even look at this. And that is what happens. So people are thinking, oh my God, another lone crazy guy. It's incredible with all these lone crazy guys.
Yeah.
And they just move on with life. And the power elite who are carrying these things out can move forward with their agenda.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, so I was looking into many of these different conspiracies, and like I said, it was almost like a bullet point list that I came to see that this is how they're doing it. And I think this goes way back to the Roman times, the Roman Empire, how they carried these things out, and they've just moved this template and used it in a modern form.
Hmm.
And then in 1986, the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme was shot dead in the street by a lone crazy guy. And up until then, I thought that like I say, I was born in Denmark, but I grew up in Sweden. And up until then, I thought that I lived in a country with, a beautiful democracy where there was no corruption, where I could trust the police, and there was hardly any crimes. There was no violence, no nothing like that. So when this happened, I mean, it was a national trauma, like unbelievable, just like the JFK assassination, because Sweden had never ever experienced anything like this. It had been like a like a little safe haven in the world, a little small white island where everything was perfect. And then, so I thought that, okay, it's awful that he was shot, but thank God we got the Swedish police, and they're on the track, so they're tracking this guy down. So within a few minutes, a few months, it's going to be solved, and everything is going to go back to normal. But then it started dragging out, and out and out, and then after a while, I started seeing, my God, they're following the same bullet list. And I thought, how is this possible? I mean, I've seen all these other assassinations in the States, South Africa, South America, and so on, and they follow this list, because when I looked at other assassinations, they were following the same template.
Yeah.
And then
Same
it happens
pattern.
in Sweden, the exact same pattern. more or less identical. And then I saw the same thing happen in Sweden, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I need to look into this. So what I did was I quit my job. I moved to Stockholm. I started looking up people that were involved in this, and there was a small little group. They were called the private investigators, private people, mostly elder men who were just very saddened by what had occurred in Sweden and what was actually happening. So they were really trying to find out what had occurred. So what I did was I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours with these guys, going through all the evidence that they had collected, and I was sitting in archives. I was sitting, I just spent I don't know how many thousands of hours, and what I did was I learned as much as possible from each and every one of them, and not even, I don't think any of them really understood how serious I was. They were just very happy to talk about it. So they thought, oh, great, this guy is all ears. So I'm going to talk and talk and talk. But what I did was I collected all this enormous amount of information from all these different sources and started putting together like a jigsaw puzzle that has taken me many years to fulfill. Not that it's absolutely complete yet, but it was a jigsaw with the picture side downwards, so I had no idea what the final picture would look like. I was just finding these pieces and fitting them in wherever they fitted.
Yeah.
And then slowly, after a while, I was able to lift it and start seeing, my God, this picture I had absolutely no idea about. And so the more pieces I got together, the clearer the picture, and I started tracking down. I tracked down all the Swedish part of the assassination. I tracked down different foreign secret agents in Sweden and assassins. It was like a very bizarre experience, because I didn't, you see on films, you see foreign assassins who are sleeping agents and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you track them down yourself, I mean...
Yeah, it must have been pretty scary for you to be right in the lines then.
I tell you, very scary, because two of my friends got murdered and in this group because they were digging too deep, and I had a visit as well.
Oh, yeah.
One day when I came home... one of the ways they scare you, because it's messy. If they kill you, it's messy. People will start noticing if there's too many suicides or something like that. So they try to avoid that if they can. So they try to say to you, back off, back off. And one of the ways they do it is they come to your home when you're not there. Even if you got alarms and stuff like that, they will just pass them. They get in there. And what they do is they rearrange maybe your furniture or the books, or they do things very obvious, so that you will, when you come home, everything is closed, everything is neat, but you get in there and you will just notice, oh my God, somebody's been here. And what they're saying is the same like the mob do,
it's a warning. Yeah,
the warning, they say.
Yeah, actually one of my previous guests, David Dees, he's a famous illustrator. He does a lot of those conspiracy pictures and political art. And the same thing, he said the same thing happened to him. He's noticing things in his apartment moved around and stuff like that. So that's definitely a calling card that you're stepping on some big toes.
It's standard procedure, So you just need to learn to read the signs. So what they did with me was that they just moved around the furniture. And then they went through all my files, and there was one. Since I went up to the assassination site just a few hours after he was killed. Me and my brother went right up there, because it was such an historical event. We just needed to go there, so we went up there. And my brother took some photos, and one of the photos was a color photo, and there was all these flowers on the murder site, and then there was a sign saying, why was a real Democrat murdered? And that one, they had stuffed in the where the water exits in the bathroom. So the water had sort of dissolved the color, so it looked like old blood were running on it, and it was stuck there. And my toothbrush was in the kitchen among the cutlery. And the thing is that they just do it so to show you we are here and we are watching you, you know.
Hmm.
So it's a really scary experience.
Yeah, like the
But
term, the keys to the city. I hear that sometimes, and it always makes me wonder who has the keys to the city. Like who can get into your
good,
house, anyone's house. Uh,
yeah, good question.
and
No, and especially
in your
no.
research, I know you discussed something called Operation 40. And what was there any involvement with that with the Swedish assassination?
This is the thing. This is after all of these years, I started not only seeing a very clear pattern on how these hits were carried out, but I also started finding a real truth that the same people was involved, and that was just incredible information for me to see that, my God, they've actually, it's not only the same power elite that are behind all of these, I would say more or less all of these big things like JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Oklahoma City, 9/11, Olof Palme, Robert Smith in South Africa, Salvador Allende, Che Guevara, Paulo Neruda. The list goes on and on and on. It's the same group that once you start digging into this, it will lead you down a very dark tunnel and labyrinth. You will get back and you will get to the same power elite that we
Hmm.
can discuss in more details afterwards. But actually, they have used the same assassins in many of these cases. And I heard an interview once with a guy who was involved in this, and he was asked the question, but why on earth do you use the same people? And he said, why change a winning team?
Huh.
Very good point. I mean, you whatever you need done, if you got the funds and so you would pick the best, and this is exactly what they did. They've used the best and they've used them for decades. They've been
Hmm.
very efficient and
Yeah.
they've been going undercover so that no one has had no idea at all
Hmm.
that these people were actually doing the same things. And this is what I discovered. It started in Sweden, where, like I said, the official story is that it was the work of a lone crazy guy, a local alcoholic by the name of Christer Pettersson. He was the Swedish version of Lee Harvey Oswald, who they blamed on. And the reason why they blamed on him was he was the perfect patsy. He had a violent background. He looked good in media, meaning he looked threatening
Hmm.
and half crazy. And they need people like that, to convince the public
Hmm.
that so the patsies, they used to be. I mean, we're talking the boogeyman. They used to be in the 60s. They were always East German or Russians. Then it's gone over to the Muslims. After the Cold War ended, they needed a new boogeyman, so they went for the Muslims because they're really good. They work well in media. They're dark. They've got a big mustache. They've got strange names like Muhammad Abdul Akbar, something like that. And they've managed to convince us that Islam equals terrorism and
Yeah.
Muslim equals terrorist. It's absolutely not true, but it's
Propaganda.
been
Yeah.
so pumped into our subconscious that people think it right away. If your name is Muhammad, oh my God, where's the bomb?
Yeah.
You know. And
So for the
nowadays,
Swedish assassination, was the patsy in this case, was he killed off shortly
yeah,
after?
not shortly after they used him for like he was killed in 2004, I think.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but this is he was actually not the patsy that they had prepared for to take down, because there were two operations going on at the same time, and one of them sabotaged the other one on purpose.
Huh.
It's a very complicated story, but
Yeah.
so they really, the people trying to cover it up had a massive job covering it up, and then in the end they went for, after trying out some other patsies, this one was the guy they got, and they took him to court. He was sentenced for the murder. Then after that he was released because there was absolutely no foundation, no proof that he actually did it.
Hmm.
And but after that, the official story, the storyline has always been, did he do it or did he not? The thing was, he had absolutely nothing to do with it. And then in the end, he was, well, the way he died was he was picked up by a police patrol, a van, police van. They brought him into the hospital saying that that he had to detox, get the alcohol out. But they were very brutal with him, getting him in the van, because he was just sitting there on a park bench with his friends. They pushed him in there. He was in the hospital. Then when he came out a few days later, they said that he left the hospital. He went out, and then nobody saw what happened, but they say that he went out of the exit, and then he had an epileptic seizure. He didn't have epilepsy as far as I know, but and so what
Hmm.
happened? They say that he fell backwards and he cracked his skull. But the thing was, he had a 10 centimeter crack on his skull right on top, and I don't know how you fall and hit your head like that if you don't
Yeah.
jump like from 5 meter up with your head down. Boom.
Hmm.
So if you look at the autopsy report, it's
Yeah.
very obvious that it was a blow from above with some.
Yeah. You'd have to dive off of somewhere and land right on your head. Soldier dive
This is
on
this is
concrete.
also, yeah, that this is a, like standard procedure as well with these suicides. Once you start looking into them, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
But they get away with it.
Do you
So
think
this
that
is the
there's still an operation today? Facets of this group?
I know they are. I know,
Hmm.
but now they're getting really old. But yes, I know some of them are very active. I mean, we're talking like one or two hits a week. So it's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah, and
it's
it's
incredible.
just for the viewers out there that might not be aware of what Operation 40 is. Could you explain what Operation 40 is?
Yes, thank you for keeping me on track. I know I get off track like this, but
Oh, no problem.
okay, Operation 40 was a group that was put together in the late 1950s, early 1960s by President Dwight Eisenhower. At that time, he had a lot of problems with Fidel Castro, who had taken over Cuba, and Castro had thrown out all the American financial interest on the island. That was also very connected with the mob. There were all these casinos. There was all these different companies making an incredible bundle of money from Cuba. So what they wanted was they wanted to take this bearded guy out, and the way they did it was that Eisenhower gave the task to his vice president, Richard Nixon, to please form this group of skilled assassins that we can use to take out foreign leaders or whoever is making problems for us. So Richard Nixon gave the task to people in the CIA to put this group together. So it consisted of people from the CIA. There were people like Ted Shackley, which is a very, very high up CIA operative who was involved in so many assassinations on a global scale. He was deeply involved in the JFK assassination and many others. You had E. Howard Hunt, who the same goes for him. He was also one of the Watergate burglars. You will see, I will start connecting the dots with many of these because the
Hmm.
Watergate burglary was actually a cover up. They were trying to cover up the tracks going back to the JFK assassination. That was the whole reason for that break in and the starting of this whole scandal, the Watergate scandal. Okay, so you had also a man named David Atlee Phillips, who was very central in the planning of the JFK assassination. He later became the chief of covert operation for the Western Hemisphere on a global scale. I mean, we're talking big
Hmm.
players here, big players. And he was also the so-called controller or handler of Lee Harvey Oswald, who was the patsy that was blamed for the JFK assassination, meaning that he was the guy who painted him black. He prepared him as a patsy without Lee Harvey Oswald knowing about it. He was being groomed as a patsy to come by this man.
Hmm.
And but he was also David Atlee Phillips was also the controller of one of the shooters, the guy behind the picket fence that shot the final shot, the headshot. His name is James Files. He's still around,
Yes,
and
he's
this
in
guy
a
has,
prison, and there's a video of him for the viewers out there if they want to check it out, where he confesses to all this and he connects some dots actually.
yeah, incredible dots, absolutely
Hmm.
incredible dots. So, but he was also this. Let's get back to this guy, David Atlee Phillips, because he's central also all the way up to the Olof Palme assassination and other assassinations. But in this group, Operation 40, it consisted of mostly exiled Cubans who had escaped the island. They were mostly former mercenaries, former policemen, former military from the Air Force and so on. Very, very brutal people, very skilled killers, and very fanatic, against JFK and other things. They sent this group. It was called Operation 40. One of the theories why they named it Operation 40 is that there were about 40 killers to start with. And when you start finding out who were the actual shooters in Dealey Plaza, many of these people involved came from this group, Operation 40. But this hit on JFK was a combination. It was people from the CIA, it was people from Operation 40, it was people from the Chicago mob, there were people from the mob in Louisiana and from Florida.
Yeah.
And it was put together, financed by the oil tycoons in Texas, the military-industrial complex, and other big bucks, and planned and executed through the military, and I mean very high up, and approved of by the global elite. So it's a massive hit.
Yeah,
this one.
Totally, and it was definitely a joint with the mafia, the mob and stuff. Definitely.
They did just like when Julius Caesars were killed. All of them had the people around him. He was surrounded by traitors, and they all had knives, and they all stabbed him, so that everybody had to dip their hands in blood, so nobody could point out the other one saying they were the one doing it without taking the fall themselves. And this is the way everybody that was involved in this had to support shooters and so on, so that nobody could grasp on anyone else. So if it's okay, I'll carry out with presenting some of these members, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. I was just actually while you were speaking, I was just showing the article that you sent me on Veterans Today from Jim Fetzer. The article you submitted, I was just scanning through that, so I'll get that up on the screen actually while you're naming them again, and I'll point them out, the pictures.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there was one guy, for instance, called David Morales. He was a very brutal man, very brutal man, and he was the guy that was called in when everybody else chickened out. They called for David Morales, and he was present in Dealey Plaza. He was not actually one of the shooters, but he was present there. And he was also present at the Ambassador Hotel when they took out Robert Kennedy. There was also two other very high up CIA operatives at Ambassador Hotel when they took out
Robert Kennedy.
Yeah.
There's a great documentary about that actually called RFK Must Die, and he points them out actually through security footage that shows them in the ballroom.
It's excellent. That's a private guy, low budget, but
Shane O'Sullivan.
Yeah, fantastic, really good, because he points out Gordon Campbell and George Gionides. I'm not sure how that is pronounced, but these two, which are extremely high up in the CIA when it comes to different psychological warfare and naval intelligence and so on. So these three people were at the Ambassador Hotel, not the shooters. They were not the shooters, but they were there controlling the whole operation.
Yeah, the handlers of the situation.
Exactly. The same David Morales was the guy who actually killed Che Guevara. Che Guevara was one of Fidel Castro's closest associate when they did the revolutions on Cuba.
Yeah.
And later he was tracked down by a man called Felix Rodriguez, who was also part of Operation 40. He's central in so many things as well. He's still around as far as I know. And this Felix Rodriguez used some local military people in Bolivia, and together with David Morales, they tracked down Che Guevara. and Felix Rodriguez gave the order to kill him, and David Morales was the one who actually shot him.
Huh.
Felix Rodriguez to this very day is carrying around his watch, Che Guevara's watch, I think.
Oh, seriously.
One thing that is crucial to point out as well is that this group was funded. The guy who is the what do you call the paymaster, or the guy who got the funds into this group, was a man by the name of George Herbert Walker Bush. That's George Bush Sr.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important to understand that he was a young man at the time, CIA operative and so on. His dad was Prescott Bush, who was part of funding both sides in the Second World War for this global elite who was creating the whole conflict. But he was specialized on funding the German war machine. So this Bush family is extremely central when you look into these different assassinations and conspiracies and so on. They pop up all the time. Doesn't matter if it's 9/11 or JFK or you name it, they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So also, well, if we take George Bush Sr., actually he was present in Dealey Plaza as well. There's quite clear evidence now that he was actually in the Daltex building when the shots were fired.
With Charles Nicoletti?
Charles Nicoletti, he was a hitman from the Chicago mob, and he was the shooter in that window.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Dealey Plaza.
I believe that...
complex.
Yeah, I believe from my research that Nicoletti was probably the one who got off the throat shot, the first initial throat shot to Kennedy, because it was like a direct... right, like in that line, almost.
I totally don't agree with you there.
Oh,
because
no?
that was a frontal shot, and the Daltex building is behind. The throat shot was the one that also came through the windshield of the limo. That, as far as I know, that was the one that hit him like that. But Nicoletti
yes.
was behind him. Nicoletti was in the Daltex building. There's a fire escape stair,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a window there. That's where he was positioned. So in that building, you had Charlie Nicoletti was the shooter and the spotter. They're always like a spotter, checking, and also the thing is their task is to check out, get green light. Yes, we're on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Normally they're in contact with the radio as well, and also to pick up gun shell, what do you call it, gun cartridges and so on, so that they don't leave any evidence afterwards, because the shooter needs to be focused on the shot and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So the spotter in that, the spotter in that building was a man by the name of Nestor Izquierdo, a black exile Cuban who's now, you can see there's a statue of him in Miami, USA, and he was very closely connected to Operation 40. I don't think he was actually in Operation 40, but he was working very closely together with him. And in that building also you had Johnny Rosselli, who was the guy, the connection between the Chicago mob and the CIA. A very flamboyant guy, the typical nightclub owner type, white hair, sunglasses, big white fake smile, and he was the guy that was connected and did all the things. He later ended up in a barrel, decapitated. They chopped him up in pieces and put him in a barrel and threw him out at sea. And in that building as well was George Herbert Walker Bush Senior. So it's very interesting if you see in my research, as far as I've been able to find out, JFK was the last real president elected. All the presidents that have been elected afterwards, or elected, I would say, are people from the same power group that killed him. Mm-hmm. There was a coup d'etat that happened there. And this group that took over have been in power ever since. This is why these things are crucial to find out, because we're not talking about a murder in 1963. I mean, okay, if it was a murder in 1963, you can look into it and say, oh, it's very sad that he was killed, but what to do? But the reason why I'm so focused and why I put myself online here is because it's the same people that are still active to this very day. Mm-hmm. And it was affecting our lives in so many ways then most people have absolutely no idea what's going on. So
Hmm.
that's why I think it's so important to expose these people or this group of.
Yeah, it's
So
definitely obvious that they still operate under the same conditions and methods. I mean, this sort of stuff happens all the time. If you look at Aaron Swartz, he was going to go to court and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden he just kills himself. I mean, that's it.
standard procedure. You got
Yeah.
like if the official hearings or they threaten to go public with a press conference or they they're there to give testimonies or whatever, they die very they're all
Hmm.
these accidents or suicides or
So the friends that you had in Sweden that died, you said, I guess they like it was pretty obvious that they were killed because of looking into this stuff.
obvious if you know what was going on, yes. And that's why I got scared as well. And that's why I left Sweden because I thought this is getting too close.
Hmm.
There's I don't want to become one of the statistics.
Yeah.
Uh, One of them was found with his skull cracked in a subway station. It was ruled out as an accident. They were never looked into, but it took us almost 2 years to get out the autopsy report.
Huh.
No, sorry, 8 months. 8 months. Sorry about that. And then in the autopsy report, you can see that what it says, it doesn't describe an accident. It describes that his head was bashed in with something heavy, like
Yeah.
a metal bar or something like that.
Huh.
And the other guy went for a medical checkup and came out with a very severe cancer that put him in a state where he couldn't hardly speak, and he died shortly afterwards. And I'm not the one ruling this as murders. This was one of the people in this group. He was actually the first police that came to the site when Olof Palme had been killed. He was the highest ranking officer that night, and he was the guy who came there and saw what was going on. And he also ended up like the guy who, without knowing it, ended up in the middle of this international massive conspiracy. And because he was so strong and honest, he stood up for what he actually saw, and the timing, because the timing is very strange when it comes to this killing,
Hmm.
because they're like, you know, there are many police cars that arrived before the actual alert went out, you know,
Yeah, just like the
because
JFK assassination, it was printed in papers overseas before it actually happened.
for there you go. That's exactly what we're talking about. And if
Hmm.
somebody like this police commissioner, his name was Gösta Söderström, he just stood up and said, "I came at this point, at this time, exact time to the crime scene," because it's standard procedure when you come to a crime scene that you just note the time when you arrive.
Hmm.
And he arrived there. There's 6 minutes that is messing the whole thing up, because he came and and with his time he was able to prove that these other police cars that was filled of right-wing policemen that was deeply involved in the assassination, that they had come there before the police alert had even gone out there,
So they were
showing
in on
very
it.
they were in on it. This is the whole thing. They were in on it. And they tried to persuade him, they tried to threaten him, they tried to do everything for him to change his story to the official time so that these 6 minutes would disappear. But he
Hmm.
did not. He stood, and his whole career got messed up, and he died alone, a very sad man. I've dedicated my book to him because he was a dear friend, and he was also the guy that said these two deaths of our two friends, he was friends with them as well, were murders. He was the ones pointing it out. I mean,
Hmm.
he was a high-ranking police commissioner, so I'm just quoting him, and
Hmm.
I got the message. I thought this is getting too close, so I left as well.
Yeah, it's good that you're still here to tell the story, and give us all
Thank
this
you.
information and do interviews because I think this is definitely the behemoth of conspiracy, so to speak. And definitely, I knew I
To
would learn something from this, from doing this interview because, like I said, I was looking into it a bit, but it was really hard to find information and piece it all together and stuff like that. Um,
it is. They try to cover their tracks everywhere,
mhm.
you know. That's
Um,
also why so many witnesses are killed as well.
yeah.
As soon as there's a loose end, they cut them out.
Hmm. The
I
statistics
just want to
on.
say,
Oh, sorry.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to say, no, I just want to say that many times in the early interviews, because I've only come out really in these latest years here, and we pointed out very clearly that we are not depressed. Our cars are in total they're mint condition. The brakes are good. Just to make a
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I'm not suicidal. I am very positive for the future. I've got great plans. My car is fixed,
Yeah.
and it's just the same.
So there you have
But
it, folks. If something
there you
happens to
have it.
Ole suspicious, you'll know who did it for sure.
Yeah, we know who did it
You'll know
because
where
it
to
was
look.
not myself doing it.
Hmm. Definitely. I noticed in the article on the Veterans Today website that there was a picture of Jimmy Hoffa on there. Do you believe that his disappearance when he went to that restaurant to meet apparently mob members? Do you think that his disappearance is done by the same group as well? Is part of this?
Of course.
Hmm. That's
I mean, many of these times there's more than one reason why people get disappears, or get killed. It's not as easy as to say like with JFK he did that. No, there's multiple reasons, and with Jimmy Hoffa there were many different reasons. He was becoming a liability, and they just wanted him out.
hmm.
Because also the thing is that when somebody becomes a liability, he was put to jail. Then when he came out, they had another mobster had taken over, and he was very bitter and pissed off. And when people get pissed off, they start getting sloppy, and they start getting revengeful and so on. And then they will start talk as well. They
Yeah.
would threaten to, well,
Yeah.
if you do that, I'm gonna do this. And in that case, if they know too much, their liability. So this is the reason I think he ended up in a cement plot somewhere,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Yeah, nobody's been able to find him, which is what's so mysterious about that thing.
Yeah.
They did a really good job in covering their tracks on that one because he's still missing and stuff like that. Um,
He actually disappeared on my birthday.
oh
So
yeah, yeah,
well,
it's definitely strange
well,
because he was I'm pretty sure he was the founder of the Teamsters Union, if I'm not mistaken. I know he was the head of it for many years. I'm not sure if he was the founder of it or not, but yeah, it's and it's definitely something I'm seeing even now is some of these higher ups in government, politicians, etc., have definite connections to organized crime. It's still apparent today. It's like they're hand in hand. When I was doing some research about Barack Obama even, and some of the people that attended his church with him when he was before he was president were killed outright because they were exposing him in some of his homosexual activities, as well as this underground group he was involved in through the church. And these three people just ended up assassinated, and they were all within a month and a half from each other, I believe. It was like three separate individuals, three separate assassinations, all because they were talking about Obama and stuff. So for all the viewers out there who think that these people aren't still in line with organized crime, it's definitely apparent that people are still dying because of this, and I believe that's why you're coming forward with this information too, is to expose this stuff from going on.
yeah, we need to stop it.
Hmm.
I mean, but this is, I feel super positive about the future because there is an amazing awakening going on. I mean, I've been walking this track for many years, and most of the time people have looked upon me as like, oh, one of these guys with a tinfoil hat.
Hmm.
But now there's this like a tidal wave of interest, because people, it's just been, they in the old days they used the method, the stepping stones. They pushed a little here, they made a little move there, they things like that, so you wouldn't really notice what was going on.
Hmm.
But the latest 4 or 5 years, it's been like, I think they're getting very stressed, so they're pushing forward on a scale never seen before, and they're getting so sloppy, and they're getting so careless, and so on. So even the most asleep people are starting to wake up and just
Yeah.
say, wait a second, it's getting bizarre, this whole thing, you know, what? So, but when you talk about Barack Obama and so on, like I said, the people who killed Kennedy are still in power, and the only thing they've done is that on every fourth year they change the face in front of them,
Hmm.
the public face, and in this case now it's Barack Obama. It's exactly the same power machine that was behind Bush Jr. and Bush Sr. and Reagan and all. It's the same
Yeah.
that has just been moving like a violent tank that is pushing this agenda forward. And now
Hmm.
it's come in the shape of Barack Obama.
Yeah, I think.
And I think that they got the way they got him into power as well was a massive psyop, how to prepare the subconscious of the people.
Hmm.
And do you remember the series 21?
Serious 21?
There was a TV series called 24, sorry,
Oh, yeah,
24,
yeah, yeah.
with Kiefer Sutherland.
Hmm.
And in that, you know, they use this old Roman method as well called problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem to get a reaction from the public so that they can come with a solution.
Hmm.
Right?
Order
So
out of chaos.
they first need to create this problem. So if they, instead of just pushing something on top of it, they need to create a problem so that we will ask and create, please give us the solution.
Hmm.
And then I can push forward the whole agenda was. And what they did was with George Bush Jr. I mean, Jr. is a puppet, a total puppet.
Yeah.
Senior, he's the guy you had to watch out with.
Yeah, CIA ties and all that stuff.
Big time.
Contra.
On a scale that makes Adolf Hitler look like a school child. He's involved in, I can't say how super criminal he and many of these other people are. It's like super criminal on a scale that is just mind-boggling.
Hmm.
George Bush Jr., absolute joke, but he was just put there to be able so that they could keep pushing forward that. But what they did was that they made a problem out of George Bush Jr. You know, they pushed it with all of these wars on terror and all this thing to get the public in the end just like, something needs to be done, give us the solution. And in on stage came the Black Messiahs,
Yeah.
Barack Obama, who came from absolute nowhere. No one had heard about him.
Hmm.
I bet you 2 years before he was a president, no one had heard of him. And
You're right.
the way they got him in on stage was, I think, through the PSYOP. I would say PSYOP, his TV series 24. And
Yeah.
in that TV, if you remember that in that TV series, Kiefer Sutherland is an FBI agent, and his task is to protect the president. The president in this series is a black president, which was up until that unheard of. I mean, if you had said that before, Barack Obama, like 5-6 years before that, said, well, the next president's going to be black. Yeah, right. It's going to happen maybe in
And a
50
female
years.
vice president, yeah, right.
It's
That's the
like,
thing. They put them
right.
out as a pair, right? A female vice president, a
Yeah.
black male president for the first time ever in history at the same time. It's kind of strange. Definitely.
No, so what with this 24, what they did was that Keith Sutherland was working for this president, a black guy. Beautiful man, absolutely amazing. He stood for all these high ideals. He was, even though he was on a lot of pressure, he was saying, nope, we stand for what is true, what is right. I mean, this guy, you loved him. He was beautiful, wonderful. He actually looked a bit like Barack Obama's big brother. Beautiful voice, everything was great about him. You just think, my God, let's elect this actor for president. He was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Then the second series, once you prepared the subconscious of the people that, okay, black president, that's a really good idea. Then in the second series, once you accepted that concept, he started going, well, we are under a lot of pressure here because here came the Muslim threat again. We are under a lot of pressure. Oh, what should we do? I'm very sorry. We need to torture them because of national security. So they start with all these torture things, which was In the first series, no way would he do like that. But now in the second series, he starts caving in and it gets more and more brutal. In the third series, he's like awful, awful, awful. And exactly the same development that has been going on during Obama. So you prepare the subconscious of the
Mhm.
public like that. You create the problem with Obama, no, with George Bush Jr., Boy George, as I call him, so that people go ah, and in comes the solution through the Time magazine and Life and magazine
Yeah.
and so on, where they present him as the best president ever before he was even elected, and then he was given the Nobel Peace Prize for things to come. I mean, can you
Yeah.
make these things up? It's an absolute joke.
The
And by
criminals
the
are
way,
getting the peace prizes. It's absurd.
yeah, and also if you look at where does the Nobel Peace Prize come? Who was Nobel? Alfred Nobel was the inventor of dynamite and explosives that has created this whole military industrial complex. So would you trust a guy like that? But the whole
Wow.
world is like, oh my God, he's giving the Peace Prize. Well,
Yeah.
so is Henry Kissinger, which is one of the biggest war
Oh
criminals of
yeah.
all times.
Definitely.
So,
They
so,
always seem
but
to
I'm
do
go.
that. They put things in the media, in shows, movies, songs, like they know.
Pump it in, pump it in,
Yeah.
pump it in.
Are you aware
And
too that on the game Call of Duty Black Ops, the first mission of that game is called
it's called
Operation 40,
Operation 40.
and
Oh
the
yeah.
guy's name is Mason. The character, his name is Mason. So they're just putting it right in your face, all the time in the games you play. Like, it's
No, but they're also trying to diffuse it. Like when people start coming out with these truths, they will get to you through movies or
yeah,
games or so on, so that when people start, if I start talking about Operation 40, they will go, "Yeah, right.
yeah.
Now you've been playing too many TV games. Come on."
Like Oliver
And
Stone's movie JFK has nothing on the research that you've done. Definitely not. Like I've watched the movie, he did point out some key figures, but definitely didn't go into detail too much about nearly to the extent that you have. You know what I mean? I mean, if somebody
yeah,
turned your book into a Hollywood movie, it would be huge. It would be
I know that.
insane.
And this is, I would very much like that. I'm very much looking for people to help with movies, documentaries, agent to help me with public speaking and also funding. If anyone would like to support me financially, because it's very hard. I've been down this road for 30 years, no
Hmm.
income when it comes like that, and when you have a family to feed, very difficult to focus if you not have some kind of funding. But
Yeah,
when it comes to the JFK movie, I would totally disagree with you there. I think he did an amazing job. He did not show the whole truth because I don't think he was aware of that. But the way what he is exposing, I think it's one of the best exposures of what actually
yeah.
happened. But it is so
He did.
complex,
He
though.
did go into it like more so than most. Definitely more so than
Oh
most.
yeah.
I would definitely agree with you there. But I just feel that he left out some key players and key connections that he probably knew, but I don't know. Maybe he was just in his conscience. He knew that if he went that far, something could happen to him. That he could end up in a barrel or at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe that's why. Could be.
Do you know? Do you know in the film? I think it's really, really interesting because this whole global elite we're talking about, it's extremely connected with Freemasonry as well. It's
Hmm.
interlinked, and they use a lot of Freemasonry symbols.
Yeah.
And one of the symbols that they use after assassinations, they very often they erect an obelisk,
Yeah.
which symbolizes the male
Penis.
energy, the
Yeah.
male power. Yeah, and very often when somebody has been hit within a year, they erect this obelisk like a decoration of the park where it happened, or some where you are not you're not aware of that it's connected to the assassination if you don't know the sign language, if you understand what
Yeah,
I'm
and
saying.
Dealey
So
Plaza is
these
right there, right in the middle of
it's right
Freemason
there.
Central.
And also they wanted to, after 9/11, they wanted to erect or build a new obelisk over where the buildings were standing. It's the same
That's
where Olof Palme was shot. After a year, boom, up came this obelisk, really oddly situated. I point all of these things out in my book, Coup d'etat in slow
mhm.
motion. And anyway, but in the JFK movie, when he he meets up with Mr. X.
Yeah.
His real name was Fletcher Prouty. He was working for the CIA,
Hmm.
and
They're in front of the
sitting
obelisk in the
talking.
park.
They're sitting talking in the park, and then he says, "Who has the power to cover this up? The possibility to carry it out, and so on? Who?"
Hmm.
And then it goes quiet, and they cut, and the next photo is the massive obelisk in the
Yeah.
background, and then they go back to the conversation. I think that was Oliver Stone's way of pointing straight at them, but without really saying it.
Yeah, that's what I
You know,
mean. Like, he didn't full out blow the lid off the whole conspiracy in that movie. That's what I meant by that. Like, I do think it's the best interpretation of the case in a movie, in a Hollywood film. Definitely not in
for sure. And
documentary, but in a movie,
no,
definitely.
yeah. And he was the first one who did it, so I
Hmm.
honor him for that. And I can totally understand if he didn't point out as well, because if you go too straight again, too much against this elite, they will stop you, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's one thing to
and there's
stab them, but when you twist the knife, that's it. I guess
this
that's
is
the
what
way.
I found is like the best thing is to push, and then you will get a warning, then back off, then relax for a while, then start pushing again, then you
Hmm.
get a warning. Okay, I back off. Do you know? Because if you push forward, like Martin Luther King, for instance, who just went on, they will deal with you.
Yeah, and
They
that was
will deal
proven to
with
be a government conspiracy. In court, the King family went, and it was proven that Martin Luther King was killed as a result of a government conspiracy. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
but we're talking about the same people, you know, like
yeah,
back to the three tramps. The first one, the first name, his name was Charles Frederick Rogers. He was with the Naval Intelligence (ONI), and he was also one of the friends of James Earl Ray, who was the patsy of Martin Luther King. Do you
hmm
see the connection there?
yeah, definitely. That's what I was saying. Like,
And
there's James Earl Ray. There was Lee Harvey Oswald. There's John Wilkes Booth. All these patsies seem to have three names. I'm finding it's very strange. You
and
know.
and this guy was Charles Frederick Rogers.
Yeah, there you
That's
go. So that might be a
yeah.
sign there, you know, if the three name is, and if the
I don't know.
3 points too is also the thing for the Masons and stuff, the triangle and
Yeah,
the
yeah, for
compass.
sure. I don't know,
So
maybe. It just for interest. Also, the tall tramp, the guy in the middle, his real name was Charles Harrelson, and
Woody Harrelson's father, yeah,
there you go. He
yeah,
was also one of the Chicago mob's hit. No, not. He was from Louisiana, a hitman, one of
yeah.
the
That's actually
supplied
one of the
by.
questions I was going to ask you. It was about Charles Harrelson, who is the father of Woody Harrelson. He was seen as one
Yeah,
of the three tramps, but he denied it in an interview, saying that wasn't him. And a lot of people do think that it wasn't him, but I definitely think it was him for sure.
I tell you, there's been like some of the FBI's greatest experts when it comes to what do you call it, identifying
Hmm.
faces and also reconstructing faces. They have there's a very good video. This woman, I think her name is Louise Gibson. She's one of the high rank, most respected in the world when it comes to facial recognition, and she has identified all three of them as the ones. So
That were
definitely,
fingered, yeah.
it's by because many
That's
people thought that the old tramp was E. Howard Hunt, but it's not. It's his name is
yeah,
Chauncey
Chauncey
Holt.
Holt, and he made a video actually. It was called "Spooks, Hoods, and the
Spooks.
Hidden Elite," and that
Yeah,
video, that documentary, is very in depth too about him confessing that he is one of the tramps. He felt bad about
yeah,
Lee Harvey being the patsy.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of key players involved here that are
yeah,
mafia mixed with CIA, and that's how they get away with it too. Like that's how there could be organized crime on such a big level. Look at the Iran Contra scandal. That's organized crime with the government smuggling cocaine into the country, weapons. I mean,
Can I,
unreal.
when you talk about the Iran Contras one of the key players was Oliver North, and his
Hmm.
right hand in all of this was a man by the name that we already mentioned, Felix Rodriguez, from
Ah, yeah.
Operation 40. And one of the main pilots was a man by the name of Barry Seal, and Barry Seals was a friend. He was in the same teenage group as Lee Harvey Oswald, the flying where
Huh.
Dave ferried. Dave Ferry was educating them and so on.
Hmm.
And he was one of the main pilots in the Iran-Contras affair as well, flying in these big military planes. I think his plane was called Fat Lisa or something like that. Massive planes where they transported weapons out from the national what do you call it? The National Guard under the supervision of Colin Powell. They got the weapons out, got rid of the serial numbers, and then flew them down to Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, these countries, to support the Contras army that was totally created by the US
Hmm.
to take over these countries and totally massacre the local population.
Yeah.
So the weapons was going that way, and then they filled them up with drugs, sending them back. So they came with these big military airplanes going back. And one of the places they landed, they used a small airstrip in a little place called Mena in Arkansas. And when the drugs arrived there, one of the people who were receiving it personally was a man by the name of Bill Clinton, who was at that time a governor there, low-level governor. And he, together with his partner Dan Lasseter and George Bush Sr., who was sometimes on location receiving these drugs, started the whole crack epidemic in the States,
Yeah.
where the game was to make billions and also destabilize the whole American society by getting more and more drugs in, more and more weapons, more and more criminality. They want war.
They want violence. Yeah.
They want violence. They want the minorities to start killing themselves, shooting each other, and also get the whole prison thing going, because they are making
Lots of money. Yeah.
absolute money on privately owned prisons. So they
Hmm.
want people in prison. It's like having a hotel, and you're fully booked for the next 150 years. The more people you can get in, they pay. It's not the prisoners paying, it's the taxpayers.
Yeah.
It's all the time the taxpayers are paying for this. So the more crime, the more people they can stuff in the prisons for absolute no reasons. I mean, nowadays, if you look the wrong way, my God, or you're a truth seeker, terrorist, stuff them in there.
Hmm.
You know.
Actually, I was just talking to someone today earlier, Tommy Blackhat from England.
Yeah.
He says hello, by the way. But he was telling me a story about a guy who was washing his car in the United States, and he got arrested recently, washing his car in his backyard. I don't know what the crime was, but that's what the world's coming to.
I mean, nowadays, now they're using this label terrorist for anything. You know, one of the signs of being a terrorist now is like if you miss a finger, if you got more than 7 days of food in your house, you can be labeled a terrorist. It's like they've gone to such a level where, you know, they're trying to get people to think that we are under this terrorist threat all the time.
Hmm.
But the terrorists are they are the terrorists. I don't think there is such a thing as a real terrorist.
Hmm.
After all of these years, all of these so-called terror acts, 9/11, Oklahoma City, car bombs, civil wars in different parts of the world, all of these assassinations, I've looked into so many of them.
Yeah.
And I've never been able to find a real terrorist. I've found people who have been trained, funded, equipped by the FBI and other groups that belongs to this global elite.
What's
When it comes to
what's your take on the
when it-
school shootings and stuff like that? Do you think that's also
yeah,
operated
massively.
black ops?
Yeah,
Hmm.
totally. And what they're trying to do is we're back to this problem, reaction, solution. What they try to do is create a problem so that they can get a reaction from the public, so they can come with a solution. And these school shootings are the main reason for these school shootings is to make the weapons the problem.
Hmm.
They will say it's the weapons, so you need to give up your weapons so that we can solve the problem.
Hmm.
But the thing is, and the reason why all these school shootings are in the States is because the States is the only country, more or less, that is armed. The population is armed, so they have a massive problem with that. Because the other countries, they can just take over if they want to. They do it in different ways.
Hmm.
Through the IMF and the World Bank, they knock them out financially or so on. But the States, the population is armed, so they need to create problem to make it out that it's the weapons that are the problem. You give up your weapons, and we can come with a solution, which will be martial law and a total takeover. So I would keep the weapons.
Orwellian state. And yeah, I
Totally,
definitely have to agree. I would agree with keeping your weapons if you have them. It's all outlined in documents like quiet weapons for silent wars, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's in their documents. William Cooper wrote about it in one of his books about the disarmament policy of the United Nations. So it's coming.
It's like I think it's important to show out that what they're talking about is the new world order. That is the agenda of this global elite, the new world order. And what they want to do is totally crush the old world, the way we know it, and out of the ruins build what they call the new world order. It is not a new plan. It's been going on for many, many decades. It was the same agenda that Adolf Hitler had, funded by the same group. And now we're talking about not the Third Reich, but the Fourth Reich. And it's the same people, same mentality, same build-up. And also, if you look back in history, you will find that this global elite has funded the same groups and also they exported when the German war machine was put to an end. People thought, oh, thank God, peace to the world and everything. But what happened was that they brought a handful of Nazis to the Nuremberg trial, killed them off, and people thought, oh, thank God, now we can live in peace and happiness forever after. But what they did was they got rid of these 12 ones, the patsies, and then they imported or exported from Nazi Germany into the States and many other countries, thousands and thousands of these highly, very skilled and intelligent super Nazis.
Yeah.
And they were part of building up the so-called OSS, which later turned into the CIA. They were part of building up the NASA, and they are part of the government and the whole banking system and so we're really talking about the same mentality. People need to look at history, study history, and see the comparison of what's going on, especially in the States at the moment. Compare it to what happened before Hitler took over, how he took over, and the different methods. It's identical. They're using also, once again, like a template, how to deal with it.
So they have the FEMA camps already. There's already those paid for by taxpayer dollars.
People have to understand these FEMA camps. They're not like summer camps. They're modern, high technology concentration camps. They are actually concentration camps, and which I would, if I would live in any area where they had these type of things, I would be very worried about that. And I would also say, I just want to go back to when we talked about this with the weapons. Don't put down the weapons. I am not a pro-violent person at all. I'm a total peace activist. I totally stand for the Mahatma Gandhi way, the Martin Luther way, not violent way. So that is not what I'm promoting. But I am saying, do not give up the weapons, because they are like the symbol and the threshold that they are having massive problems with.
Yeah, so that's going to be what's putting them in check. That's going to keep them in check. Is if the public have weapons, that's the only way. Because as soon as they disarm the public, the only people left with the guns are the ones who are being controlled and dictated by these powers that be, and that is the police force and the military. And if the police and the military say no way and they drop their weapons, that's the only other peaceful solution to this, I think. These soldiers and police officers need to realize who they're serving and who they are there to put to serve. They're there to serve the public and not these satanic, occult worshipping forces,
I think what you're saying is extremely important, and many times in many interviews I speak directly to people in uniform, to soldiers, and also to the global elite, especially soldiers and the police, to understand whose agenda they're serving, to inform themselves, because they're soiling their souls. They're doing awful things in the name of other people's greed. I mean, it's not even their own, and it's, I think, extremely important to once again study history and see how did people end up as SS? How did they end up in the Gestapo? How did they end up in Abwehr and so on? And how was history judging them afterwards? It's exactly the same thing that is happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And to for people in uniform to understand also that they are being used big time, and that the people who are using them could not care less. They're empty uniforms, and the day they're not they don't use and need them anymore, they're out. They will
Mm-hmm.
just get rid of them. And if I can return to the FEMA camps again, I speak to personnel of FEMA camps as well, that you really need to inform yourself as well what you are part of. I know that maybe you're being paid good money and great, you can pay your mortgage and take care of your kids' education, but my God, see where you are, what these camps are going to be used for. And if you don't wake up early enough, you will be part of the people that they would send there as well. So, ooh,
Yeah.
I would just say that one of the things that I think they will try to how to get people in these FEMA camps, because they are constructed for many, many, many thousands of people,
Mm-hmm.
not summer camps, not summer
For
camps,
entire
and for
populations, pretty much.
exactly, and for children and everything. I mean, we're talking families. So I think one of the ways they would try to get the sheep in there, is they will create a problem so that the people will say, "Oh my God," and so they can come with a solution. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, they could like use the chemtrail and spread out some kind of awful disease, and then they would say, "Oh my God, we have
Quarantine.
this disease problem. You need to be quarantined, or we have the antidote in the FEMA camps. You come to the FEMA camps, and we will help you."
Yeah.
They've been supplied with lots of medical antibiotics. They're already equipped with lots of food and water and all of these things.
Yeah.
They're standby. They're on standby.
Absolutely.
Especially
And this stuff could
around.
happen like overnight. I'm not sure if you've checked out some of these videos from this past Black Friday, but my God,
No,
the people that were in these shopping stores were fighting over a TV. The last one in the store, one man pulled out a gun and was shooting people and stuff like that. So there's the herd mentality of some of the people in the public is just getting way out of hand. And a perfect way that they could get people into these FEMA camps is through civil unrest, riots, stuff like that. And if you YouTube Black Friday 2013, it is unbelievable. I definitely encourage you to check that out. It's unbelievable. It's so shocking what people would do for a TV or.
can I just say once again, be aware, because there are a lot of provocateurs that
Hmm.
do these things. Gets that they start riots, they start civil unrest, they do things like this. I would very much, this guy with a gun, check out who was he, check his background. Who was the victim? Was there a victim? Was there any bullet holes? Were there blanks? Check these things out,
Good
because this
call.
is exactly they pump it into your head and say, "Oh my God, we're so crazy. The world is crazy." No, it's not.
Yeah,
They are crazy.
it's
They
like
are
the
crazy.
airport shooter. That
It's
was
the
definitely
same.
false. False flag.
It's
Yeah.
for it's false flags all over the place, and nowadays they have a problem with. I think like if you kill a lot of people, uh, they think that will solve the problem. But especially if you kill young people or children or something like that, the parents and especially the mothers will chase you down. They will never give up. They will keep on your throat. So the more people they've killed, the more families are just following them, not giving up, trying to expose their every step. So I think that it came to a point like a few years ago where they thought, "Oh God, we can't handle this anymore. Let's do it with actors." So they created this crisisactors.org. They even got their own websites
Yeah.
and other things that are connected to the FEMA, these things. And so they started doing staged events, like things that actually did not happen, like Sandy Hook, an
Hmm.
absolute, it's a fake event, all of it. The head chopping in London, absolute fake, 100%. If that is a real event, you're welcome to chop off my right arm and use it for a baseball bat or something like that. It is not true. Absolutely not true. Boston bombing, absolutely not true. And so
Yeah.
on. And they're so, once again, they're trying to keep it to as few people as possible. So they're even using the same actors. I mean, come on, how bad. It's so sloppy. I don't know if it's low budget or whatever, or they're trying to keep it as in a small group as possible. But you will see that the same actors in Aurora, Sandy Hook, and Boston, you will see even the same sheriff turns up, same name when he's being interviewed in 3 different states. Come on, and then there's another interview with him when they're training these things, the stage, but they're saying as a preparation, same sheriff as in the real so-called events, the same, victims that one day she's dead, the next day, 2 days later, she's sitting
Alive.
in the
Yeah.
lap of Obama. Or the, like the headmaster in one school was killed, and then suddenly she pops up as a witness in the Boston bombing. And one girl in the Boston bombing who's blown up, there are pictures of her being totally blown up. And then there's an interview with another guy it looks like they're in some kind of a dressing room or something. And in the background, who's sitting there? The same girl. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like on a... But it's the same with 9/11. You have Pentagon, for instance. It's the most protected building in the world.
Hmm.
I mean, there will be thousands of cameras. All of them turn off that very day. There's not one that is filming the whole event. And then you have this hole, the size of a missile,
Yeah.
where they say that this whole 757 just right into it.
Yeah.
And what do they say? What their explanation? How come the hole is so small? Well, the wings folded. Okay, and what happened to the wings? I mean,
Yeah. There's no debris
the
or nothing.
engines. The engines. I mean, we're talking like 6-ton engines of metal that don't melt in degrees. That it's like going to the thousands and thousands. But they say no, the
Hmm.
high heat vaporized. It vaporized due to the high heat.
Yeah.
You
It's
can't make this thing up. If I told you that, if I cheated on your wife and I said, yeah, but, or I stole your car and you came out and said, where my car? It vaporized. Would you believe me? No, but that's what they're telling us,
yeah. Exactly.
you know?
And the
And
Shanksville too. You got Rumsfeld and Cheney slipping,
oh
saying that they shot
God.
down a plane, and there's all this
No,
stuff going.
and you hear themselves, they do these Freudian slips,
Yeah.
and when they talk about, well, and the missile hit, oh, I mean the plane hit,
Hmm.
because the mind is true, like you have to manipulate the mind into
Hmm.
to lying, so you get these Freudian slips. It's just so bad, and the way they point to the pants is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even make it up. So how can we blame the Muslims? Let me see here. Okay, we'll put an instruction video on how to fly a Boeing 757.
Yeah.
That's how we'll do it. We'll put a video cassette in the car, and then we'll add a Quran. That's good, and maybe like a bandana, like a suicidal bandana.
Yeah.
And then, even though it's a national flight, let's put the passport there. That's good. I mean, everything else disappears, but the passport, that's an
Yeah.
excellent idea. Let's do it like that. That's the way they do it, and we buy it. It's like, come on. And they make all these cell phones calls from the plane
Yeah.
on an altitude. The calls are made on an altitude where the mobile and the cell phones didn't work, but
Hmm.
they did. And the people are identifying themselves. Hello, mom. It's Edward Jones. I mean,
Yeah.
how would you say your family name to your mom? And the stewardess, oh, we're flying over. I see buildings. I see water. Not Manhattan. No, I see buildings. I see water. And she speaks like so quietly. Well, they just cut the throat of one of the passengers, and no emotion
Yeah.
whatsoever, like this. And it
Yeah.
turns
The
out that
phone
she's
calls.
on
Yeah.
the she's in the wrong place of the plane, so she couldn't really actually see that, and it's just a massive hoax, all of it.
Yeah.
When you look into it, it's only because we're being so pumped by the media, which is controlled by them, that we buy into it. Because if I made this up, people would just say, come on, you must be joking, I'm not
Yeah.
buying that. Or if I made it like a film script, it would end up in the paper basket like in 5 seconds. But because we're being pumped with it again and again and again and again, we buy it.
Yeah.
I mean, go
I
figure.
think
I don't
though,
get it.
I think now though people are really starting to waking up. It's like you said earlier, definitely more and more people. There's been an increase in the last 4 years, definitely, towards this sort of information. Even since 9/11, people are definitely waking up because they're seeing that it's plain as day. The evidence is right in front of them, and it's just they're slipping. Like you said, they're slipping so much. People are waking up. And I think it's starting to hit critical mass, and they're getting scared, and they're figuring out other ways and tactics to keep control over the public, because that's their number one goal, is to control the public and the masses no matter what, and never give up that power. That's definitely their top priority, is to keep that government machine rolling all around the world and stuff like that. And I think I see it in the near future anyways, like a one world government starting to come into play, where individual sovereign states are going to be uh, taken down in the name of something, maybe terrorism. I'm not sure what it will be, but I think that there's not going to be an end to these sort of events. I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's definitely going to be more on the future that, unfortunately,
If it goes according to their agenda, yes, for sure. That's
hmm
what they're trying to create. They're trying to create a one world state, fascist state,
hmm
with a one world army, the NATO and the UN troops together. Both NATO and UN is a creation by this global elite, to control the population, not to defend us, to control us. Depopulate the world by 2/3 or something like that. Not very
hmm
nice. By chemtrails and vaccines. Stay away from the vaccines, folks. That is a major one that they're trying to
yeah,
force on us. And a one world digital currency, digital, so that they
yeah,
can control it. I mean, the day that you don't have the bills to pick up and the coins, if your credit card doesn't work anymore, you are in big shit, and the
yeah. In
person who
Canada,
controls the computer.
here, we
So,
just got rid of the penny, so we're starting to slowly get rid of change here in Canada. So that's a start to removing currency and
now
going to digital.
I tell you, in Sweden, there are many banks that don't deal with cash anymore. It's almost a cashless society, and I think Sweden is one of the countries where they use as a test ground,
Oh yeah.
because people are so lame when it comes to reacting.
hmm
In Sweden, if you get really angry, you will put a sticker on the bumper saying "I'm angry,"
hmm
something like that. That you won't have a problem with a revolution, or like if you go to Denmark and you take away the beer, people would there would be riots everywhere.
Yeah.
But in Sweden, no,
Yeah,
I'm
Bitcoin seems to be like the early phases of a digital currency, I think. Maybe that's a testing digital currency, a
I
test run.
I don't know about Bitcoin enough to say anything, but there are many different theories what's going on there.
hmm
But I would very much stick to normal cash.
Yeah,
And also they want a microchip population where with the chip they can control us. They can see everywhere we go. They can see.
that's
So
why they
if
got
it
cell
goes,
phones, though, is they got the chips in all our cell phones and the cameras on there on our laptops, everything. So,
it's also why they started with like with the cats and the dogs. I mean,
oh, yeah,
they don't care. They don't care about stray dogs, but they want to microchip them.
yeah,
They don't want to feed them, but they want microchip. Why? To prepare our mind that it's for our good. My God, it's so good. The dog runs away. We can find it. Excellent. Yeah. And
mm,
then they have these whole things on the milk cartridges. With the missing children, all of
yeah,
these things, which is good in one way, but it's also when you see there's a lot of theories about the CIA behind it. So that more and more to microchip your children.
hmm
Now there are insurance companies saying you need to microchip your children. Have you seen the TV adverts?
yeah.
Oh, this little thing,
And
and
if you go to,
you just need to put it on your skin, and all your problems are solved. It's wonderful.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you go to Freemason websites too, they've got the chip. They're promoting the chips on their websites. as well as blood donations and stuff. But it's more,
Scary stuff.
yeah, it's more towards
Scary stuff.
children, and I think in
Yeah.
schools
No.
too they're promoting chipping and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Scary, scary. Stay away. Stay away.
absolutely.
But I would say that that's their agenda. It's absolutely not my agenda, and I
Hmm.
think the future is super, super wonderful because it's this group. It's a small group. We need to realize there may be like a couple of thousand, and we are 7 billion people.
Hmm.
Why on earth are we buying into this? It's a joke. It's
Hmm.
an absolute joke. And I would like to say to if I can speak directly to the elite, listen, guys, come on. It is over. You have had your years of absolute greed and destruction and everything you wanted to try out on us. We're not buying it anymore. It is over. And the sooner you get it, the sooner we can move and start creating this world and make it into this beautiful place it's meant to be. I can totally understand if you are shit scared of us. I would be if I were one of you. I mean, if I look at what you've been doing for decades, I would think that the chances of you being lynched and chopped into small little pieces is very big. Not though if I can be part of deciding anything, because it is only we need to heal this body. It's like a cancer growth, and only by exposing these truths can the body start healing. It might be very painful and smelly while doing it, but it needs to be done so that this beautiful body can heal itself. And it's, you know, this global elite, it's like I say, it's such a small little group of so-called powerful people, most of them old guys. And it's just like in what's the name, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. You know, they come to this castle, and there's this violent voice saying, "Whoa, I'm so powerful, and you are weak. You are weak. I control you." You know, and they, instead of bending, even though they're really scared, Dorothy and the Tin Man or whatever they call them, the lion without a heart, even though they're very scared, they don't run away. They stay there. And this is the thing, to stay in balance, even though you're being attacked.
Hmm.
And they start looking around, and what do they find behind the curtain? There's this little old guy with a microphone and a massive amplifier. This is the elite.
Hmm.
A small group of old guys with a massive amplifier saying, "We are powerful." They are not. As soon as we stop playing their game, because we're doing it to ourselves, we are controlling ourselves just because they say we have to. It is absolute madness.
Hmm.
So the whole thing is for us to wake up, see what's going on, see that we're being super manipulated. And one of the ways they do it is through the TV. So I would suggest turn off the box.
Yeah,
Turn
and
it off.
one thing that's very interesting about your research too is you've connected the music industry with this stuff. I mean, John Lennon's assassination is one of them. Michael Jackson, I believe, was also a victim of this,
Yeah.
and that's something I was, because I'm a musician myself, and you are as well. I've noticed on your website that you've done work in the music industry as well, and for music and stuff. So that's really cool. But so it's you obviously believe too that John Lennon and others were killed because of the music that they were writing at the time. Is that what you think? Or
That
was it
is what
more
I
about
know.
what they were doing behind the scenes, I guess?
Do you know, this is once again, it's very hard to know what was the actual motives of it. I'm more like on a street level, finding out what actually happened and how did they carry it out. The motives behind it, especially with John Lennon, tricky because there could be multiple layers to that one. But I know that the patsy that they blame it on was absolutely innocent. Mark Chapman, he had nothing to do with it. But the actual guy who shot him was the doorman at the Dakota building, and that doorman that night was a nice-looking gentleman in his, I think, early 70s or something like that. His name was Jose Perdomo. He was officially earlier employed by the CIA, but now retired. But if you track him down, he was for 10 years one of the highest ranking officers of, guess who? Operation 40. So how big are the chances of one of the highly skilled assassins in the States to be the doorman at the exact time when John Lennon was shot, and actually standing to the left when he was entered, and all shots that were fired at Lennon came straight from the left, not from the right where Chapman was standing.
Mm-hmm. And he just happened to have a book, Catcher in the Rye, Rye there, just waiting.
This book again, the book is Hinckley had that book as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hinckley that is supposed to have shot Reagan,
mm-hmm.
and both Chapman and Hinckley and Bin Laden were friends of the Bush family.
Yeah, that's it's crazy also, for sure.
Do you know when Bob Marley died of cancer? Bob Marley was, I think, if you think that he was just sitting smoking joints in a corner and saying Rastafari man, that is a major mistake to do. Bob Marley was a highly a man that I respect very much, very, very brave, very strong, and like he said once, that I'm a very simple man with a simple wish. I just want to unite mankind.
Mm-hmm.
That these are strong words, and this was what he was trying to do. And in 1975, there was a lot of attacks on Jamaica from the CIA and the people we're talking about before, where Henry Kissinger was moving in, and they were using Ted Shackley from Operation 40, and they were using David Atlee Phillips and other people to try and destabilize. They worked their way through one by one. And one of the things they did on Jamaica was there was a whole series of assassinations. There was raids, they burnt crops, and they tried to destabilize the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to a point where there were actually martial law on Jamaica, and Bob Marley, who was at that time, he had become a very big symbol for this unity and also the resistance. He was asked to join a concert, to make a peace concert to try and calm down the population on Jamaica. Sorry about that. But just a few days before this concert, there was an attack on his house, and some armed men came in and started firing all over the place. His wife was hit in the back of the head. Bob Marley was hit. The bullet almost hit him in the chest, but passed and lodged in his arm instead. And his manager was hit, I think, 4 or 5 times when trying to cover over Bob. Anyway, Bob continued, even though he was wounded. He continued, and he did this concert, even though people were warning him, they're going to take you out, they're going to take you out. He went up on stage and played the whole thing, and got both the leaders of both the major parties on the island to come up on stage and shake hands. Amazing, really amazing. Mm-hmm. And then from then on, he continued to he just grow. He started doing tours. He went to the States, and he became, one of his girlfriends was the daughter of the dictator in Gabon in Africa, and he went there. Also afterwards, he went to Zimbabwe, which used to be Rhodesia, that had just become liberated themselves, and he made a concert there that was it turned into a riot, and there was a lot of tear gas because there were so many that wanted to come there. But even though all this tear gas and all this riots were going on, Bob was the only one still standing on stage playing, and this guy was unstoppable. So he was promoting peace, but also to stand up for your rights, all of these songs. Mm-hmm. So he was becoming a major problem. So if you go backwards, what actually happened was that in 75, he died in 81 of so-called cancer. And in 75, when all of these these attacks were done on Jamaica, there was especially one person that came to the island. His name was Luis Posada Carillas. Once again, member of Operation 40. He was present in Dealey Plaza. He was part of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these attacks on international soil. He came to the island, and there's quite a lot of evidence showing that he was behind this violent attack on Bob and his family, the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
But then a few weeks, I think it was a week or 10 days after that shooting, Bob was approached by a filmmaker, an American maker of documentaries. This man's name was Carl Colby, and he was actually the son of Bill Colby, who was the CIA director of the CIA for many, many years, who was also part of building the whole Gladio Stay Behind movement in Sweden and the rest of Europe, and also involved deeply in the Operation Orange in Vietnam, and all of these things are connected. But Carl Colby approached Bob Marley saying, I would really like to make a documentary about you and all the things you stand for and so on. So Bob was saying, yeah, let's talk. This was while he was still, wearing bandages after the shooting and so on.
Mm.
So, well, Carl Colby had brought a present with him. It was a pair of cowboy boots. And Bob was, like jeans guy and loved boots. So he said, oh, great, great. So he pulled on one of the boots, and people who were there, especially there was one photographer from Hollywood, he was there. And he said that suddenly Bob just shouted to him, ouch, and pulled off the boot. And what they found inside the boot was a little piece of copper that had punctured his big toe.
Mm.
And anyway, about I can't remember how long afterwards, but Bob found out that he had cancer in that toe. How many people do you know who had cancer in their big toe? I've never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a medical thing, but I've never heard of it. And that big toe, they advised him to chop it off, to operate it away. But he thought that if he did that, he would not be able to dance and so on. And dance and music was so important to him. He said, I can heal myself. I'm sure I can heal myself. And then sometime later, they were playing football and somebody stepped on this big toe and it more or less just exploded. And once they started looking into it, the whole cancer thing had spread to his whole body. By then, he was approached by a doctor who, a former Nazi. I mean, here we got a guy from Jamaica with dreadlocks and all the things. How big are the chances that a Nazi doctor would care about him? I mean, you tell me. So, and he was also connected to different CIA operations and so on. He took care of Bob Marley, and he took care of him in a way that he starved and was in such a painful experience. He was brought to Switzerland and he died there, an awful death.
Yeah, probably making sure that he was going to die a painful death for sure. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's
and also
that's brutal.
you need to also see the timing of these different operations. Like John Lennon was shot in December 1980. Then in March, Ronald Reagan was. John Hinckley did the assassination attempt on Reagan, and it was also the time when the whole Iran, the scandal with the American hostages in Tehran, where it became like a struggle between Bush and Reagan, who would get the credit of getting them out there. And in the end, Reagan managed to win that. So I think that Bush Senior was behind that attempt to get rid of his component. But then just a few months later, Bob died. Do you know, like when you start seeing this, the people think that these things are way apart or something, but it almost goes like in waves. Do you know that, like
clusters? Yeah.
Like Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy, there was only about a month in between them.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And so
there's definitely a lot of connections that you've made for sure. We're actually
on for hours.
Yeah, totally. I would definitely like to have you on the show again sometime in the future if you'd be interested in that, because it seems like we only scratched the surface here. There's so much information. And I encourage anybody out there to go to his website, lightonconspiracies.com, and definitely buy his book if you're looking for something to read. This is got to be the book of the century on all these assassinations, in my opinion. For sure, you've definitely done your research, and I think that I think when more and more people learn about this stuff, they'll start seeing the connections that you've made, and it'll make a whole lot more sense to them for sure. And I definitely thank you for coming on the show and the show today with me, Ole, for sure.
Thank you so much. Listen, Mark, can I please finish with a little prayer?
Yeah, no
I'm,
problem.
I'm, I'm not a religious person, but I have this yogi. I'm a Raja Yoga teacher, and I got this beautiful, beautiful teacher. Her name is Nelani Harilela Tjelaram, and she ends. It's yoga for the mind, not for the body. I'm stiff like a log, but the science of the mind. And she often ends with a beautiful prayer, and it goes something like this. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Victory to that light. This is the way to move forward, I think. Not violence, not revenge, not hate. These things only create more of the same. We need to lift ourselves to a totally different level and go with compassion and forgiveness and all of these beautiful things to unite beyond this, because this is a painful healing process that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
But first, transparency. And I speak directly to the elite. Transparency. You need to see that the game is over. The sooner you see that, it's so obvious for anyone else than you. The sooner you see that, the better. And it comes with transparency. You need to be brave enough to step forward and expose what you have been part of, even though it's very scary. But the sooner you do that, the more we will welcome you, the more we will embrace you. You will be seen as heroes if you start being the first one to open up for this. The longer you wait, the colder the embrace will be. So I welcome you to have the guts to stand up for what you have done in the name of greed and all of these awful things. We need to move forward. We need to heal this world and make it become this beautiful, beautiful planet it's supposed to be. And it will when you stop this and we can together become brothers and sisters and heal it. So I welcome you to be brave.
Thanks, Ole. That was definitely bang on. I couldn't have said it better myself, and those are definitely words of wisdom, in my opinion. Great, great parting words for the elite. So that's a message for the elite out there. Your time is
and
up.
Can I also say to the rest of us,
yeah,
come on, folks. Come on. It is enough. How asleep can you be? It is incredible. There are no more excuses. Our way of being asleep is causing so much suffering in the world because we are letting them continue. Innocent people are getting killed and slaughtered on a daily basis. There are no more excuses. It's wake up time. It goes for all of us. And we need to shake up, wake up, and be part of this. Okay? No more excuses. Wake up, be brave, stand in the truth, stand in balance, stand in honor, and heal it. And that's all I want to say.
Thanks, Ole. And that's definitely a good message as well. It's time to wake up, and it's time to take this planet back to what it should be.
Yeah, baby.
Indeed. Until next time, thanks for joining me, Ole. Indeed.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, mon ami.